Eliad, come on up. Eliad Saporta is actually the MD of Coriander. He comes from a legal background, so let's see how tech we can get in terms of changing the ecosystem.
Hi everyone, she introduced me, my name is Eliad Saporta. We are at Coriander, are a backend as a service for the payment service providers and for fintech and e-commerce startups. We are facilitators on trying to encourage as much innovation as we can in the payment ecosystem, because from our background, we are very enthusiastic about new solutions and new payment methods. So we're going to talk today about the backend as a service for the payment service provider. So what we are is a PCI Level 1 gateway that evolved into a backend as a service solution. We came from experience of processing credit card transaction and alternative solutions, and then at some point figure out that our system can do a lot more than that. And we added functionality and modules and services to help other companies build on top of our solution. So as I mentioned, we work with either e-commerce and fintech startups as one vertical and the payment service provider in another vertical. And we try to bridge the gap between the fintechs and the service providers by any one of our clients is automatically integrated to any one of our other clients. So the second that you're finished building your solution, you're already connected to several payment service providers to start accepting payments in your solution, either mobile, web, it doesn't matter. So what we manage is customers, merchants, affiliates, connectivity to acquiring banks, the internal employees of the company, and even connectivity to suppliers working within each and every one of those entities. And we like to call it relationship management. Customer to customer, customer to merchant, merchant to affiliate to the banks, and all the life cycle of a transaction from the rev shares, from accessing an interface that gives them reporting about that information, and even more. So we're trying to make, our motto is making the services count for the payment service provider by giving them the tool to build additional services and not just plain old processing or acquiring services. So what does it take to launch a startup or, let's say, a payment service provider? We heard our colleagues yesterday talking about infrastructure, being on the cloud, being cloud ready, and all sorts of slogans on how to actually get your business up and running. But in the end, it's all about the services. If you're either using SaaS providers to actually encourage for task management, reporting, email marketing, etc., it's all about building a set of group of services to actually facilitate your ongoing and your service that you're offering your service providers. So we're going to talk about the as-a-service ecosystem. There are all sorts of it, IT, recovery, content, even games. Now introduce malware as a service that I saw an article about hackers actually giving a malware to other hackers to start building the next hack. But we're going to focus on platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, software as a service, the backend, and obviously the payments as a service, which is another segment which is we're going to cover in a minute. So starting with something nice, we use it at home all the time. HAS, which is Hugs as a Service. In 2001, Juan Man introduced us to the Free Hugs campaign, actually offering free hugs to everybody passing by on the street, willing to accept the hug from a total stranger. Now, surprisingly enough, like any good service, you aspire to be white label, to go global, have branded solution, and then came the branded solution of the Free Hugs campaign. I'm not sure they're paying royalties, but I'm not going to tell. So, being a little bit going back to the series, talking about infrastructure. When you build a company, if it's a payments company, you have to be PCI, you have to have the servers set up, and all the infrastructure with regulation and location and all of that. It becomes very difficult if you're an early stage company to start investing all of that money in the hardware and all of the additional things that you might have to do. So, from the beginning of the cloud, we started having infrastructure as a service. What do we get from an infrastructure as a service provider? We actually get the hosting of the servers, we get virtual machines. You get a server, you can access it, you can install that whatever operating system you might need. They take care of it, but additional services and tools, it's your responsibility to manage and configure to get them working to your own needs. In the world of PCI, some of the cloud providers have PCI security already embedded in the infrastructure, some don't, which eliminated them from becoming compatible for the payment service provider. But it's a tool for you to start building your solution much quicker instead of putting a downtime investment and a first-time investment, which is very high just on the hardware required to be PCI compliant. So examples of the clouds that are available and let's say compliant in this case, IBM, Azure, Google Cloud, Amazon, of course, and other providers which are each with their own certification and process. Second option, platform as a service. Not every company needs to have their own management on the infrastructure. Platforms limits the amount of control that you have about the environment. They're also managing the servers themselves. They're giving you a hosting environment to upload your app, manage the databases, manage the front end. It's all your responsibility, but they configure the servers. Example, the one that we already mentioned, but GoDaddy. You can set up a hosting account on GoDaddy with your domain, upload the app that you build, the web app, and it starts working. You have no conflicts, you have no problem. Not really ideal for the payment service provider, but ideal for any SaaS provider that wants to launch a solution. They start small. Once they grow, they start having more control over the environment. So comes the SaaS providers, software as a service. Some of them are our clients, the potential clients that we might look at, but some are services that even we use on a daily basis. With the SaaS, you don't control everything. Anything is a client. They give you everything in a whole. You sign up for an account. You get access to the data, the management tool you want to do, but everything else is in their hands. So SaaS works obviously both for B2C and for B2B. If you use the services that you need, you can see a full list of services. Those are the ones we're using. I'm sure that there are a million more. I'm sure you're using some of them from different, obviously Gmail is at the bottom with the Google Apps for work. So everybody can checkbox one of those at least. So PaaS. What is PaaS? What is payments as a service? There was a lot of confusion in the beginning. Is it the white labeling mechanism? Is those the acquiring banks? Is there merchant services? What are the PaaS? So as developers, we're a technical company, obviously, so we looked at it as a way of code. If PaaS equals software to process payments, then it's also a SaaS. It's a software as a service. What do we get from a PaaS, which is software as a service? We get the PCI Level 1 compliance, we get the hosted payment page integration, we get the server-to-server APIs, multiple bank integration and availability to work globally. We get recurring transaction from some of the providers as an internal tool. What we don't get usually is a CRM system to manage our onboarding process, to manage our leads and the entire life cycle of a merchant or a customer. We don't get user management internally to manage our employees, etc. Sometimes you have to send them an email to open another account for another representative in the company to access the admin interfaces. We don't get affiliates. Few of them actually offer that ability to manage the rev share between the different partners who are directing traffic to us. We don't get custom logic. It's very difficult with the big payment service providers to get custom logic on the behaviors you're doing to try to break the market and invent something new. And module development, the ability to actually extend the functionality to build on top of it. You'll have to develop your own backend functionality, your own services, and integrate that into the payment as a service. So I try to include as many logos as I saw from people in the audience. I'm sure I'm missing someone, so for the next time I'm speaking, I'll include you for sure. But you see how different approaches, different service providers in terms of payments. Some with limitation. Imagine, let's say I'm a SaaS company and I need to start going globally and I want to start accepting payments. What control do I have to manage multiple acquirers at the same time for local processing? If I use Stripe, if I use PayPal, it's one provider, it's one account, they manage the routing internally, I get a fee, and then nothing I can do with it. And if I want to start routing between providers, I'll have to build my own backend to start managing the logic on in which case, in which BIN number when I'm sending it to a different country. So what do all SaaS and PaaS have in common? They all need to manage their internal employees, the internal users. They all have to manage security. Payment as a service must be PCI compliant. Regular SaaS doesn't, but it's a good thing to have. They all manage billing. How much does my client has to pay me for the work that I'm doing for them, for the service that I'm offering? And those are internal mechanisms that I have to develop. We talked about an API-ready environment. Everybody needs to open up their services to allow people to connect to the system. And obviously reporting for allowing them to access their data, even if it's internally to their mechanism, to their backends. So if you look at the SaaS pyramid of needs, the base is security, then managing users and merchants, managing affiliates because everybody has partners directing traffic to them. Obviously the payment layer which comes on top of that banking functionality, and only at the end they can start managing the value-added services that they have to offer to the market. So if you look at how much resources are put into the life cycle of a startup, 70% will go to backend functionality to manage the internal behaviors, the billing and all of that, where 30% are left for, yes, you as a service, whatever makes you different in the market. So here comes the backend as a service. Provider that actually built the backend, which is custom, let's say, good enough for a lot of types of solutions, but customizable enough so you can build on top of it. So the approach for a startup or company isn't building a backend from scratch. It becomes a module-based strategy. I'll build a module which includes my value-added service, my niche, and place it on top of the backend as a service, leveraging of that functionality. So what do you get from a BAAS provider? User management, mobile, SDKs, API, billing, merchant management, security, frequently asked questions, and. And it's leaving you with a yes to focus on your front-end solution, the mobile application, the special sauce, whatever makes you different in the market, branding, and the value-added service. So it's the shift in resource management. No longer would you put 70% on the back end, you'll put 30% on the BAAS provider for setup fee, monthly fee, per service fee, and custom development, and 70% will go to what makes you different in the market, your differentiators, which are the front-end, mobile app, special sauce, etc. So how it looks today, you have the backend, which is sitting on top of a platform as a service or an infrastructure as a service, and then you have your you as a service sitting on top of that, and only then will you add the layer of payments on top of it. How we make it look like, our backend as a service, which is also payments as a service incorporated into one, sits on the PaaS and on the app, but gives you the ability to build your SaaS as a solution and a lot more resources to put into the value-added services for your customers, making you a lot more agile in terms of what you can develop and the resources you can invest in it. So some of our clients develop tools on top of our system. Some build a scheduling app to allow customers to merge and to schedule appointments with their customer and accept payments for them. Some develop online shop using our APIs, ticketing system from concerts in the US, which is quite a nice mobile application using our SDKs, and product pages. Even one customer did a full closed-loop pay-for-purpose program in South Africa, which is very interesting, which I'm sure we're going to touch in the panel later. So how it looks like, our customers are integrating into the platform. The merchants are integrated to the platform using a token and a hash into our secured APIs. The backend system manages settlements, merchants, the affiliate, the payments, recurring transaction, risk and fraud detection, and risk rules that you can define internally, and all the connectivity to the acquiring banks and alternative solution. We work both with PPRO, with Payon, and direct integration to several banks, even some of them here in the crowd. And then our customers are focusing on building the module on what makes them different. So we try to put you in the center. You powered by Coriander, you get a white label solution. You don't see any of our branding anywhere in the system. It's fully branded your solution, including domain, logos, etc. The powered by only appears in the presentation, but doesn't appear anywhere else on the system. And we give you the connectivity to the different services, whether it's a SaaS service or if it's a bank to work with in the process. So if we summarize everything to how it looks like, SaaS is built on top of a BAAS, which is hosted on a PaaS, running on an IaaS, while using a payments as a service. And we try to minimize it into being, if you want to launch a PaaS that is built on top of a BAAS, offering a huge amount of VAS, talk to us. Now, repeating that sentence over and over again. So repeating that sentence over and over again. I don't know about you, but remember me of Robert Downey Jr. as this guy. I'm the dude playing a dude disguised as another dude. So thank you very much for your time. So we're Coriander, as I mentioned. I'll be around.
Thanks, Eliad.